Hi, I'm Radiance, and welcome to my channel. So, I wanted to talk to you today about distractions. Now, to me, there are two types of distractions. There's the ones that we actually manufacture, we bring about, we put into our day and our time. And then there's the distractions that kind of just happen. And I'm actually dealing with that right now. And it gave me a good lesson. So when I first started filming many years ago, and I mean creating content, I did so because I had a job, and that job left me. I was miserable anyway. And I believe I've told the story before, but long story short, I left that job, had all these great exciting ideas, and then literally the day that I left the job, I got sick. And in truth, all my great ideas had to be put on hold. And so when I did start filming, I lived in New York City. I lived at a busy intersection in Manhattan. And put it this way, I lived on a busy street, and then the entrance to the highway was on the side of my apartment, and then there was like the waterway. So lots of traffic. So when I would film, I'd be sitting, talking to the camera, and all of a sudden I would, hear something like, if there was an accident, which that happened, yes, police car, fire truck. My point is, and I don't know if you can hear that, but as I'm filming this, I was actually sitting down to film this. I was all set, and then I heard my niece come upstairs. And while it's not a loud distraction, I sat here for a while because I realized I like to be clearly heard. And, but she's having a conversation. And at first I was a little like, and I sat here in this chair for a while, and I sat here just like this. But then I realized there's things I want to do, there's things I want to accomplish. One of those things is filming today. And it actually put about this topic of distractions. So, when I was back to what I was saying, both in the time that I started filming till now, and that was several years ago, I've learned a lot about distractions. I'm going to talk to you first about the distractions that come about, the ones that we really can't help, and how we can actually power through and still move forward and accomplish our goals, right? So when I first started filming, as I said, in New York City, like I said, would have all these outside noises. Every once in a while, there'd be like noise in my hallway, but it was mostly the city. The city was my soundtrack, so to speak. And so over time, first I would keep going, keep talking, keep, saying what I had to say for whatever video I was doing. But over time, I learned a few things. I learned that actually, as opposed to trying to, lower the sound in post or in the editing phase of my videos, that I actually have more control than I thought. And so in the beginning, I would just power through, like I said, and talk. And then I would go back and watch the video. And oh my God, some of my earlier videos to me were just like horrible. While my lighting was good, and my presence was good. Like I said, New York City was a soundtrack. I didn't even have to have music. I did not. And to me, that they were decent subject matters, but they were horrible in sound because I had all this, background soundtrack noise. And so what I started to do, as I began to learn more and more about my process, was whenever I would, hear a noise, a hallway, outside in the street, whatever it was, sometimes, like something passing by, I would actually stop. Yeah, I would stop. And I literally would just pause and wait for whatever that sound was to pass. And sometimes it took a while. And as I was watching myself, like when I was editing, I would laugh because I would literally see myself doing this because I would stop and do this. That's literally what I would do. And so when I went to edit, it helped me because I literally had a space in the editing process to actually take out the gap, right? The gap that of whatever that distraction or sound was. As I got more well versed and more comfortable with the process of filming myself and filming, I actually would do something. I would do something similar, but also different. So I then moved to the West Coast, and I had some distractions and outside noise, but there were different factors going on. So while I wasn't in a city like New York, I still was in a city, and I was in LA. And so what would happen is I literally would. I lived in a flight path. I lived approximately maybe under 10 minutes from the airport, and I was in the flight path. So throughout the day, I'd be filming, and literally I'd hear the sound of an airplane going by several times a day. And once again, I would stop and I would do this. And I'd wait for the airplane to pass by. And then the other distraction, so to speak, or interruption, let's call it an interruption, that would happen is I had roommates at some point. And, they would come and go. I had my own space in the house, but, sometimes they'd be on the steps and the walls were thin. And, it sound was decent, but I still would pick up things. I had a mic. I have a mic right now. And so, with that being said, I then decided not just to, because I couldn't control the airplanes, but I then shifted sometimes when I filmed, not just how I filmed. So the second tweak I had, besides stopping and pausing so I can take a part out in editing, was I would film at different times. Now, back then I was a night owl. I still am, actually, for the most part. But what would happen is I would, film later at night. So at this point, sometimes my roommates weren't home. Sometimes they were asleep. There wasn't much going on in terms of, airplanes flying by. So in me filming later at night or later in the day, sometimes even early in the morning, well, more so at night, but sometimes earlier, I was able to not have those distractions or interruptions as much, okay? And it gave me, the time and the energy to really produce some really good content, okay? And so the other thing sometimes I realized is, and this is something I learned even just in this moment, so lesson learned in this moment, I learned to just embrace what was going on. So what I mean by that is, as I said, right now, my niece is around. And instead of me, because I did pause for a while, but instead of me stopping my production, my productivity, and what I want to accomplish today, I decided to go ahead and film anyway, right? And I was able to take what was going on in my actual real environment right now and use this to actually discuss what I'm talking about right now. So that's another way I feel like I transcended and was able to get past some of the frustration I had earlier when I started this, and still be able to talk to you today. So those are some ways I was able to transcend some of those distractions and interruptions.